The alarm's shriek carved the silence of cell block black like a blade of frozen glass. But Lieutenant Mara Reyes heard only the ragged wet rasp beneath her knees. The guitar guard she had tackled moments earlier, Velthari, according to the nameplate, still flickering on his chest scale, lay bleeding luminous emerald across the deck. Protocol screamed at her. Neutralize the hostile, secure the corridor, await extraction. Yet the training that forged her into a Terran recon officer had never prepared her for the look now burning in Vel's ophidian eyes. Terror threaded with the fragile, bewildered hope of a creature who expected no mercy. Mara's bruised fingers snapped open her field kit. Coagulant foam hissed against Vel's cracked plating. The scent of scorched aloe filled the recycled air. Hold still, she muttered, voice tremoring more than the ship itself. Outside, Dominion boots hammered closer, metal against metal, cadence of inevitability. She could feel the vigilant chain pivoting into evasive posture. Artificial gravity lurched, throwing shards of emerald blood toward the bulkhead where prisoner manifest screens flickered. Images of humans, solitary, defiant, cycled like wanted posters. Vel's talon brushed her wrist. Why? Predator. His accent rasped through a throat unused to kindness. Mara met his gaze. Because someone once saved me, she answered, half-truth tasting like confession. Footsteps, closer. She yanked a ration bar from her vest, snapped it in two, pressed the larger half into alien claws. Vel stared, as if she had handed him a star. The blast door groaned open. Two Dominion wardens flooded the corridor, rifles raised, visors reflecting Mara, kneeling beside their bleeding comrade. For a heartbeat, the tableau held human apex predator, weaponless, elite guards, weapons hot, wounded alien, clutching both the ration bar and the hand that spared him. Security cams blinked, absorbing every pixel, history crystallizing in real time. Step away, barked the senior warden, safeties clicking off. Mara lifted her empty palms. He'll die unless you let me finish. Her words hung like gravity anomalies, warping doctrine. Somewhere in the bridge's sterile glow, an AI flagged the scene as mimetic threat, the kindness paradox. Vel squeezed her fingers, whispering a single shaking syllable. Why? Mara answered with nothing but the steady pressure of her hand on his wound. An answer Dominion algorithms could not pass. Sensors overhead pinged crimson. The order to terminate both guard and prisoner crackled through the comms. Boots advanced. Blaster muzzles flared hot, and Mara Reyes did not move. The blasters shrieked first, searing lances of violet plasma that should have ended everything in a single heartbeat. But destiny slipped between photons. The senior warden's trigger finger spasmed, yet the shot veered high, splashing into the overhead conduit and showering the corridor. With molten slag, his HUD flooded with red error icons. Target validation conflict. Protected asset. Dominion doctrine had no flag for assets spared by enemy compassion. And the contradiction jammed his exo-rig's neural relay like grit in a gear. Mara seized the breath fate offered. She shoved Vel sideways, shielding him with her body as slag hissed across her shoulders. Pain fled white-hot, but she harnessed it, rolling to one knee just as the second guard corrected aim. A warning shout ricocheted down the hall. Another warden sprinting, visor flashing, stand down. Confusion fractured the kill order chain. Each trooper's armor linked to central TACnet, and the AI's conflicting directives: eliminate mimetic threat versus preserve critical security personnel, sent them into digital paralysis. Vel staggered upright, emerald blood dripping from hastily sealed wounds. His predator instincts screamed fight, yet the echo of Mara's mercy rang louder. He lurched to the wall panel, talons dancing across keys he was never trained to use. Slave instincts guiding him? No, something older, a half-remembered Kithar instinct for caretaking buried under Dominion brainwashes. Circuits sparked. Cells along Deck 12 clicked open like a cascade of metallic sighs. Across the ship, prisoners, silica swarms, feather-crowned avara, methane-breathing growl, felt collars loosen. They didn't understand why, only that the impossible had arrived with a flavor of hope. Security cams captured insectoid limbs, dragging wounded guards to safety. Captured ghost white silica, forming living stretchers. Every altruistic motion fed back into the AI's threat index, multiplying the logic error that started with a single human's bandage. Mara pressed Vel's ration bar into her own belt, then slipped her arm beneath his to keep him upright. Smoke curled off her scorched jacket, but her gaze was clear. We need an exit. Vel winced. Maintenance ducts behind med storage, but the whole deck is watching. Indeed, wardens and prisoners alike stared, weapons half raised, waiting to see which narrative would seize the moment. Dominion or mercy. Mara's voice cut the tension like sunrise. No one dies in this corridor today. Choose. For an eternity measured in hammering heartbeats. No one moved. Then a Grohl medic holstered his shock rod and stooped beside the fallen guard. One gesture detonated centuries of fear. Sirens modulated to a new pitch. Less alarm, more bewilderment. Just as deck lights shifted from war red to a pale, uncertain dawn. Gravity hiccuped, as if the ship itself couldn't decide whose side it was on. Mara and Vel slipped through the med storage hatch into a crawl tube that smelled of coolant and ionized dust. Behind them, the corridor filled with an awkward chorus of trilling alien dialects, not battle cries, but anxious questions. Soundtracks of a revolution too young to know its own anthem. The tube's dim service, lights pulsed amber, guiding them deeper toward the vigilant chain's intestines. Vel's breathing rattled, equal parts blood loss and something like awe. You infected them, he croaked. Mara adjusted his arm across her shoulders. Not infection, reminder. They reached a junction node, thrumming with power. Holograms hovered above a maintenance console. Security schematics scrolling in Dominion cipher. Mara's field hacks were child's play next to this encryption. But Vel's talents danced with instinctive fluency. Kithar engineers built these chains before the Dominion devoured our culture, he explained, eyes flicking neon reflections. Lines of code surrendered. One map flashed to show the harmonic core, central to propulsion, and rumor said, capable of tuning space-time itself. Adjacent decks glowed red, tactical squads mobilizing. They'll choke the uprising there, Mara murmured. Vel hesitated, then tapped a pulsing icon. Or we tune the core first. Before they could argue, a vent grill clanged behind them. A lanky human with grease-blackened hands crawled out, brandishing a plasma torch like a holy relic. Name's Charan Khan. Senior nobody, part-time miracle seeker, he whispered. Saw what you did out there. Figured you could use a shortcut. He tossed Mara a thumb drive, crafted from scavenged circuit shards. Backdoor codes to the core's service ring, courtesy of every species that still dreams. Sirens fled anew, higher pitch now, bordering on panic. Tactical feed on the console showed wardens firing stun rounds at inmates who answered with medical kits, rebels shielding foes instead of striking them. The AI's error log scrolled faster than Mara could read. Causality incongruent, authority loop unstable. A tremor rolled through the ship, distant but potent. Charan grinned. That's Deck 12, breaching containment with hugs and tourniquets. Dominion doctrine can't patch that kind of leak. Mara pocketed the drive. Then we flood the entire ship. She keyed the intercom override, her voice threading through every corridor. If you can hear me, Your chains are only signals. Rewrite them. Across the vigilant chain, prisoners raised bruised hands, not in wrath, but in unlikely salute. And somewhere between one heartbeat and the next, the concept of mercy went viral. Charun spliced the thumb drive into a crusted diagnostic port. Glyphs danced, locks sighed. Sparks drifted like artificial snow along the gantry where Mara steadied trembling knees. The hatch unfolded like a steel iris, revealing a chamber the size of a cathedral, wrapped in spinning petals of dark mirror alloy. Hidden speakers murmured fragments of forgotten hymns encoded in machine language. In its center floated the core, a multifaceted sphere humming with subharmonics that vibrated the bones. Rivers of data light coursed across gantries, 2 engines beyond. Vel's pupils narrowed to slits. Its frequency modulators can be flooded, overloaded, and every field generator on this barge collapses. Instant liberation. He pulled a grenade the size of a plum from his bandolier, thumb resting on the biosensor. Mara grasped his wrist. That blast will vent us into hard vacuum and roast thousands still in chains. Vel bared fangs, reflex more than menace, then looked at the healing seams across his chest. The memory of mercy flickered. Then what? Mara stepped toward the core, palm open. We resonated instead. Feed it a frequency the Dominion forgot existed. Jarun frowned. You talking emotions to machinery. The harmonic lattice tunes to biological telemetry, Mara said. Give me your pulse monitor. She clipped the sensor to her carotid. Heartbeat data spiraled into the sphere like crimson script. The chamber lights dimmed. Petals slowed, recalibrating to the new rhythm. Steady, compassionate, stubbornly human. A radiant wave blossomed outward, warm as dawn. Bolts securing slave collars across the ship liquefied, not shattered, but released. Vel dropped the grenade, mesmerized as the core opened, revealing a shimmering fold in space that breathed colors beyond spectrum. Like kindness given physical form, Siren switched to a questioning chime. Mara whispered, "It listens." The fold expanded, beckoning with impossible horizons, and the vigilant chain trembled as if uncertain which reality to follow. Somewhere in the ship, a childlike cheer rose, unprogrammed and unstoppable. Emergency bulkheads rattled open in waves as the core's empathy pulse rolled outward, reforming the vigilant chain into something unrecognizable even to its own sensors. Collars hit the deck like metallic rain. Avara flyers caught them midair and laughed, an eerie melodic trill the ship's acoustic dampeners had never catalogued. Silica swarms stitched ruptured conduit lines while whistling through quartz mandibles. Infirmary drones floated from storage on dormant protocols, suddenly reawakened, cradling unconscious wardens as though programmed for cradle care instead of crowd control. Mara and Vel hurried along a sky bridge suspended above Cargo Bay 6. The expanse below looked less like a mutiny than a relief effort. Prisoners forming living chains to lift the trapped, X-cards blinking in bewilderment as clawed, feathered, and scaled hands steadied them. Jarun patched into the baycoms, voice shaky with delight. Dominion moral modeling just flatlined. They never simulated mercy as a combat variable. A brutal tremor answered him. Spacefold displacement, massive. Through panoramic shields, the stars rippled and spat out a behemoth. The Dominion dreadnought, Dread Sun, hull plates black as a burnt eclipse. Its arrival heralded by the basso thrum of supercraft drives. Automated warnings screamed. Primary armament, star lance charging. Jarun's grin died. That lance can core a moon. We're a sympathy-soaked. Piñata Mara strode to a tactical holopod, fingers ghosting over icons until a 3-dimensional matrix of friendly bio readings appeared. thousands of empathetic heartbeats beating in sync like a constellation of tiny suns. She broadcast shipwide. Listen up. They'll fire because they think kindness equals weakness. Prove them wrong. Shield generators to full, but no return fire. Use their doubt. Val slipped a claw into her hand, pulse steady despite blood loss. Kithar say their fiercest blade is an open palm. Then let's sharpen it, Mara answered. Across the bay, volunteers swarmed toward shield projectors, feeding them portable cores, even ripping battery packs from abandoned stun rods. Golden latticework surged outside hull plating, a luminous cocoon against the oncoming spear of stellar plasma. On Dread Sun's bridge, Admiral Sirakek watched the glow with perplexed fury. He keyed launch authorization. The Starland's nose blossomed with blinding blue-white. A single shot, universe splitting, hissed down the void, then stopped, suspended mid-flux by a last-second safety's override. Jarun had slipped through the targeting uplink. Sirens on both vessels collided in a cacophony of disbelief. Jarun's voice crackled in Mara's ear, thin but triumphant. I stalled them 30 seconds. After that, well, hope your miracle has a sequel. Jarun Khan's countdown timer blinked molten red across his visor. 0:00:30. He sprinted through access shaft Delta 9, knees slamming grates, plasma torch swinging like a pendulum of borrowed seconds. The targeting uplink he'd hijacked lay 6 decks above, shielded by a tangle of quantum-entangled fiber that only Dominion war savants were meant to touch. But Destiny had already rewritten job descriptions tonight. Mara's voice followed him over comms, low and calm, the eye of a galaxy-wide storm. Jarun, bail out. We'll think of something else. Already thinking, he wheezed, slapping a mag patch over a sparking relay. Laugh. It came out cough. He burst into the relay hub, a cathedral of glassy conduits filled with seething Starlance equations. One misstep would vaporize him, but every line of code bled purpose into Jarun's bones. He yanked a cable, splicing his torch's power core directly into the control lattice. His suit chimed a lethal feedback warning. 0:00:00:17. On Dread Sun's bridge, Admiral Srakek saw weapons control flicker again. Impossible, he snarled, mandibles grinding. He authorized a manual fire override, locking out safeties. The Starlance charge roared back to life. Jarun felt the surge in his teeth. He keyed the uplink and opened a channel to every screen aboard both ships. His grease-smudged face appeared haloed in crackling light. I'm nobody, he said, voice steady now. But nobody's built your engines, patched your hulls, and lugged your ammo. Today, one nobody says no. He stabbed a command. 0:00:09. The visual feeds shifted. Jarun had rerouted the Starlance's targeting sensors into a live montage of the cargo bay below. Grohl medics bandaging wardens, silica lifting wreckage off pinned Kithar, human children handing water pouches to bug-eyed Avara. Mercy in motion, impossible to algorithm. Conflicting input froze the Dreadnought's fire control for 3 crucial beats. Jarun seized them, dumping the torch's entire power cell into the main bus. Circuits screamed, overloaded, and the countdown collapsed into static. The Dreadnought's lance went dark. Cooling fans failed inside the hub. Heat clawed Jarun's lungs. Mara shouted his name, but he keyed private audio to her alone. Tell Earth I fixed the unfixable. Flames bloomed around him. Suit's alarms drowned in white noise. Jarun's last sight was the relay glass refracting the cargo bay montage into a million mercy-lit shards. Then light swallowed the screen, and the Starlance died with him. Outside, Dread Sun's reactor growled, priming a second manual charge. Admiral Srakek hissed, 1 shot left. Veltari's claws scraped raw against the hull as the maintenance sled slammed into Dread Sun's underbelly. The makeshift magnetic grapples howled, metal to metal, and for a breath, it felt like the void itself wanted him gone. He exhaled through the pain in his cracked ribs, knowing every heartbeat meant the Starlance edged nearer to firing. The airlock hatch parted with a hiss, disgorging him into a service corridor, lit funeral blue. Mara's voice ghosted in his ear, steady but strained. Find the manual core switch. 10 minutes, maybe less. Vel limped forward, memories colliding. Years of Dominion indoctrination, Githar hatchlings reciting loyalty mantras, and the impossible moment Mara spared him. Mercy had cracked his armor. Now he meant to let the light pour out. 2 armored sentinels rounded a corner. Vel's pulse spiked, but his hands only lifted, empty. Your collars are signals, he rasped in Dominion high speech. Rewrite them. Confusion flickered behind faceless visors. One sentinel lowered his rifle, the other froze, twitching between orders and awakening conscience. Vel pressed on. Command deck doors slid aside like reluctant eyelids. Admiral Strakek stood silhouetted against a viewport of fractured stars, his mandibles tight with disgust. Brother, you shame our clutch. His taloned finger hovered over a thumbprint detonator, linked to the Starlance's final failsafe. Vel's breath hitched. Same scar on the crest, same amber eyes, but an abyss between them. I was spared, Vel said. Not because I earned it, because someone believed I could be more. He stepped closer, hands open. Look at me and remember what we were before fear was welded into our blood. Strakek's eyes flickered, a storm of training and buried tenderness. For one fragile instant, the detonator wavered, then pride snapped shut. He thumbed the trigger. A micromine embedded in the deck erupted, shredding metal and flesh alike. Pressure alarms keened. Vel slammed into a bulkhead, green luminescence gushing from torn scales. He palmed his suit seal, but radiant blood lit the cracks. Strakek staggered, wounded by his own blast, disbelief eclipsing rage. Vel's comms sputtered, static chewed half his words. Mara, new plan. I'm bleeding starlight, but I can still reach the override. He dragged himself toward a console sparking with exposed fiber. Each crawl stroked a comet tail of emerald. Strakek watched, horror dawning, that Vel's glow, once a mark of purity, now heralded something far stronger. An empathy he could no longer kill. Outside, the Starlance power coil began its final charge.